Hi, this is Shruti.
Hi, I'm Shukti.
Hey, this is Shreeya, and welcome back to Need a Natter.
Yay!
Good.
Episode 12. Episode 12. Check us out.
Big one too.
So go on, quick catch up. What have you lot been up to?
I've had the most stressful day ever. Like, really, really stressful. Really happy it's over. I'm really looking forward to going to sleep tonight. I just need a mental shutdown.
But you did have
go?
a bit of fun though in the evening playing musical statues with us.
I did. It's always fun to have a little bit of a dance around with the kids. I do it a little too often, actually, mostly when cooking. But yeah, it was nice to do it out of context today.
Yeah.
That was the most insane game of musical statues I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's the first time I actually went and took pictures of these statues. It was so ridiculous. Oh God, I wish I could show
We were
them.
art. We were pieces of art today.
They were literally
Body contortions and all sorts. There's all sorts going on.
It was so weird, man.
Yeah. Shrees, what about
So
you?
weird. I have been on my first day off from work, which was nice. And then, I don't know, been helping cleaning up the house, doing that kind of stuff. I feel like I've been eating a lot. I've been eating my way through the day. I've had a lot of snacks. I don't know what's going on with that, but hey-o. And then I've just been chilling with you a lot.
Yeah.
Until Didi went home. That's pretty much been it. It's flown by this first day.
It went really fast. Today went really fast.
Oh, we danced a bit.
We did dance a bit.
Other than the musical statues, we did dance a little bit.
So it was, we only got about 45 minutes in. We were wanting to do more, but the day flew by, and then we were interrupted quite rudely by Did's little girl because she was like, "I need shukumasi. She has my face. I need my shukumasi." So
yeah, it was my shukumasi.
Yeah,
I need my shukumasi right now.
And I think she said full stop as well at one point.
She said full stop.
Yeah, Mum said, "I need my shukumasi right now, full stop. She has my face." And just to clarify, okay, I don't actually have her face. Okay, I don't know what this is going to sound like, but the majority of people who have seen us think that we look like each other quite a lot. And she's only little, she's 5, and she's as sassy as I am. Or I was. I don't think I'm that sassy anymore. But
she outdoes you by miles.
That's what I'm saying. As I was sassy as I used to be, and she's actually my mini me, and she calls me her big me. So when she says she has my face, she means she looks like me. So I have to be sat next to her while she's having her dinner, and there's no two ways about it. Full stop. Anyway,
you're like a support
She's
animal,
super possessive of people she cares about, like over the top, including her teachers at school.
Yeah,
they have to only give her cuddles, and if they don't, she gets really upset. So yeah, I think we're just all owned by her.
Yeah, we are. And then a couple days ago, also, all of us, apart from Shreeya, so the kids, Mum, Pa, Did and I, we went to watch India play. Not the main team, it was the Legends team, so like the retired lot. So it was quite an interesting game to kind of see them all back. So, I mean, India did lose, unfortunately, but it is what it is. It was a really good day. However, the weather, it went from
everything.
It was cold, it was hot, it was sunny, it was overcast, and it was raining. I mean, I'm surprised there wasn't a blizzard. That was the only thing left. Aside from that, we had all weather on that day. It was insane, but we had a really good day, and we got some like really super cool tickets as well. So
it was fun. It was fun, and I think we all really enjoyed ourselves. And what was most depressing for me was that some of the legends are younger than me.
Yeah,
and I was like, "There's ages for me to retire." What? I picked the wrong profession, honestly. I should have been a sports person.
But Bar was trying to push you into playing tennis, but then
I was unbelievably terrible at it, so that was never going to happen.
So that's how that story ended. But anyway, let's get into today's episode, which is fashion faux pas. And it's not necessarily what you're thinking, that, you know, oh, I put the wrong jeans with the wrong top, or my accessories aren't complementing my new do, or whatever. I'm not wearing the correct colours for my season.
You're not Andy Sachs from Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah. So it's not that fashion faux pas. It's just faux pas that happen in the world of fashion. So that's what that is.
Yeah. So I think recently there's been a lot of talk about cultural appropriation, and especially its role in fashion, or how people are appropriating other cultures within the fashion industry without giving due credit. So just to start us off, I'm just going to give a brief definition of what is meant by cultural appropriation, because I think that's quite important for us to bear in mind when we talk about this. So it's the adoption or use of elements of a minority culture by members of the dominant culture, often in a way that's considered disrespectful, stereotypical, or exploitative, and without proper understanding or acknowledgement of the original culture. So there's been a few examples of that recently. Can you two think of any examples that you've come across before I dive into the kind of list that I have?
I mean, there's loads lately, not just lately, over the years there've been loads. So, I mean, I don't even know where to start. There was turbans were in fashion at one point in Vogue, and that was quite a while ago. Do you guys remember turbans being in fashion? They used they used to be sold like accessories in like.
It was 80s, or it feels like it was in the 80s.
No, it wasn't. Remember once we were there's that picture of me with like a turban tied on my head. It was the reason why that happened was because turbans were in fashion.
But I think the first time,
the first time
it came about was probably in the 80s, and then it's kind of been on and off. But then in terms of headdress in general, there was the entire Native American influence that came into popular culture in the 90s. And I just remember, in fact, 90s, it was early noughties more than 90s actually, because I remember being able to shop at a lot of the trendy stores back in the day. So the UK High Street had stores that were regarded as quite trendy back then that have since shut down, like Oasis, Warehouse, Topshop. They all had this kind of headgear that was very perhaps offensive to people of Native American origin.
You know what's interesting is very recently, and I mean only last week, I actually saw an advert while I was on social media scrolling, and it was one of those budget online shopping ones that like really random, and they had like a dress, but it looked like Native American wear, like the traditional wear that they have, but as a dress. You know, it was really strange, and I was like, when did that suddenly become a thing? 'Cause I'm not familiar with the example that you're on about now, but I just suddenly saw this.
Right.
The one that you're on about, is that, how recent is that?
It was early noughties, I think. So it was around about the time that I would have finished university. So that would have been before 2010-ish, so maybe 2005, I want to say, maybe a little bit before that. But like literally hair accessories that were Native American inspired.
This was like the outfit that I saw on an advert, like literally selling it, and they've not said anything about Native American. I don't remember what they termed it as, but it was like really casually done. Like they keep doing, like, oh yeah, here's a dress with so and so pattern on it, but not addressing, like, I don't even know why that's okay.
Yeah. Something that you won't quite remember, Shreeya, but Shucks would, is that in the 90s there was like this entire thing about wearing mock kimonos. So they had like dresses that were kind of silky material style, like a kimono. And there was this entire thing about t-shirts with dragons on them as well. Which was quite big back then. In fact, I found one not very long ago. I had this red one, a red top that had a dragon on it, and it was a blast from the past. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I found this. But that was really, really big at one point.
It was huge. I have that black dress. I think I still have it. A black dress with the blue flowers on it, which was kimono style. And it was everywhere. Like, everywhere. There was kimono.
Yeah. I had some pyjamas that were like that, but they were like full sleeve.
Yeah.
And I remember Dadima saw it one time, and she thought I was wearing a suit, like an Indian suit. And she's like, why are you wearing this at home? And I was like, Dadima, I just woke up. Like, it's my pajamas.
Yeah, no, that was really in.
I'd say more recently, the South Asian culture's been emulated a lot, but without due credit given. So there was this entire online thing about the Scandinavian look, which was essentially an outfit like a dress, but with a chunni or a dupatta.
Yeah.
And saying that that's the Scandinavian look, which it evidently isn't. And there's loads of Scandinavian people in comments saying this has got nothing to do with us, what you're talking about. And then repurposing or calling something that's like a long skirt, evidently like a lenga, and saying it's a Y2K inspired long skirt, which again it isn't.
Yeah.
I'd say on the same topic of cultural appropriation of South Asian culture, specifically Indian culture, there was this entire thing in the late 90s of, wearing bindis to nightclubs.
Yeah.
And I remember going to university in the early noughties and all my flatmates just grabbing hold of my bindi packets and just sticking all the bindis on their faces, sometimes multiple, and going out clubbing like that. And it was just this big thing. And then even more recently, Coachella looks, if you've seen those, that is so inspired.
The sparkly ones and everything that go fully over the eyebrow.
Yeah.
And everything. Coachella uses.
But also headdress that looks like, mata patti.
Yeah. But my only thing is that when it's Eastern culture, which is used in Western fashion, is then termed cultural appropriation. But is it the same when it's Western influences used in the Eastern world?
I'd say maybe not, but at the same time, I also think that it's become a part of culture or like trying to be modern. It's like almost seen as the modern look
But
in the
isn't
Eastern
that
world.
cultural appropriation?
So, I don't know. I don't know if that is known as appropriation or appreciation, because it's not regarded as, it's not the fact that they are trying to copy the look to try and make themselves out to be something else. Everybody knows that's Western attire.
And in a lot of places in the Eastern world, it was enforced anyway.
Yeah,
I'll give you an example of what I mean, okay? Now, lately, because of, I think, Beyonce's album, right, the whole cowboy fashion kind of has started coming back. But in the Eastern world, do they know, for example, the description that you gave at the beginning, knowing the full reason as to why this is done and, all of that. Do they know why cowboy boots are a thing? And what's the reason behind it? Is that not also kind of cultural appropriation in a way, but it's kind of like the hypocrisy is there? That if it's Eastern fashion used in the West, it's cultural appropriation. But if it's Western fashion used in the East, then it's not. Now I do wonder, am I missing something here?
I just think that if it's something, I mean, aside from the cowboy example that you cited, but if somebody's wearing jeans in the Eastern world, everybody knows where denim came from. And if they're not trying to hide that fact that, that denim wasn't inspired by American culture.
But then do you not think that everybody knew that bindis are Eastern fashion and it comes from South Asia?
It's the fact that they call them something else. They'll call them jewels or stick on jewels. They wouldn't call them bindis. And the same thing that they're doing with the skirts, they won't call them lengas, or they won't call a chunni a chunni. I think that's the main problem, the fact that it's almost like cultural erasure, because you're not acknowledging where that's come from in the first place. And a lot of people are now saying that Eastern styles look like Scandinavian culture, which they've got nothing to do with.
It's all nothing like it.
I think that's the problem.
But jeans is okay, so jeans have been around for ages, but I mean like other elements that are used, like bohemian fashion or things like that, which kind of is Western, but it's used
It's not entirely, because the entire paisley look, which is regarded as bohemian, actually came from Eastern fashion. So again, and the flowy fabrics, they all came from the Eastern world as well. So that entire look is very Eastern centric without people knowing it, because that's already been erased.
Okay. Yeah. I can only talk about India, that they don't know the history as to why this is something or which country it comes from or whatever. But I feel like we don't call out Eastern fashion for doing the same thing. But in the West, it's because it's more mainstream. Conveniently, everyone starts calling it cultural appropriation, whereas when it happens in the East, no one says it. That's what my point is. I feel like we need to be calling out both sides of it. That give due credit if you're taking influence from a different country. There's some designers that are notorious for picking up outfits from like Thailand, for example, and then selling them in India as their own designs. All right. Now, I'm not saying any names. I mean, I'm not saying that they're mainstream designers or big designers or whatever, even if it's a small designer.
I mean, I guess the only thing we can talk about is things that have been more mainstream, or things that we're more aware of. In terms of that, I'm not that aware of it, but in terms of just in general Western fashion being emulated in the Eastern world, it was regarded as the more formal look that was imposed by imposed on them by colonizers. The entire concept of wearing a blouse under a sari was imposed on the Indian public, because that's not how women used to dress, for example. So that's an adapted culture, but that's because of the necessity at the time.
Yeah, because
That's what they were forced to do.
things like baker boy hats or corsets, I don't even know if people know the correct words for them in the East, but they wear them. So
Yeah.
that's all my point is that it happens on both sides, but it does become more of an issue when it happens in the West, when the West picks up things from the East. So, I mean,
I think it's because they've been doing it for centuries as well. Because, you know, like, for example, I remember the first time I heard the word gummerbund said by a white person was my friend when she was getting married, and she said, "Oh, I'm just going to put this cummerbund here," and I was like, "What are you what? You just use an Indian word? Like, what are you talking about?" And then I realized that, oh, that was taken from us. Whereas I saw it as some, you know, like not a piece of cloth that you tie around your waist. I saw it as something that you put around when you wear a sari.
Yeah.
But this was kind of like a while ago, and I didn't quite realize that that had been taken from us as well, because that entire inspiration came from the Eastern world. But how many people know that? My friend didn't know that, and I also didn't know that it'd been adapted in that way either. But then, you know, there's a whole host of things that have been taken, like, you know, our jewelry, our fashion, our fabrics, silks, cottons, cashmere, pashminas.
yeah.
It's, you know, how many people know where all this fabric originates from, or where, like I mentioned, the paisley. There's also kind of like the paint printing blocks that you can get, that you know, the Rajasthani mirror kind of work that has crept into Western fashion. Most recently, Prada, they copied the Kolhapuri chappal.
Yeah.
That's a historic design. It's a very specific design to a place in India. And it's like a leather-based sandal. And it was on catwalks without any due credit.
Yeah.
And more recently, they've adapted the Punjabi jutti as well. And that was on the runway recently, again, without due credit. So I think things like that are quite problematic. You know, the fact that it's been happening for centuries and there's still no acknowledgement now. But I think people are more vocal about it because obviously we've got social media now to rant on and more awareness, I guess. But it's still not seen as cool. You know, like there's a lot of discourse online about, you know, Indian people being a certain way recently. Without going into that too deeply, it's not seen as cool to belong to our ethnic group currently. It wasn't the case in the past. I think there was a point in time where it became quite cool, but it's now regressed a little bit and it's not as cool anymore. But when you see people also copying the way that we looked and the stuff that we used to get ridiculed for, like, you know, the clean girl aesthetic of having slick back hair. That's exactly what we used to look like, all of us.
Yeah.
But when we did it, it was like, oh, you've got greasy hair. But Hailey Bieber does it.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's not just that, it's the entire kind of Afro-Caribbean aesthetic as well, or the Latin world aesthetic, especially about doing, I've forgotten what it's called, but when you do the lip liner and lip gloss look as well, that they've been doing for ages. You know, the Black American culture's being copied quite massively there. And when it comes to body proportions and people altering their bodies, again, what's fashionable at the moment, it is all the attributes of an ethnic minority woman, but on a Caucasian woman.
Yeah.
And I see that's problematic.
Yeah, because with what you're saying, with it being put on a Caucasian woman, is it suddenly seen as cool, like you've been putting it. Whereas before, when it's been on an East Asian woman or Native American woman, you know, or Black American woman, then it's not being seen in that way.
Yeah. But I just think, I mean, I don't know, I might be coming from a different place here, but maybe because I've spent a lot of time in India, so I see the other side of it, which winds me up. That, you know, I feel like there's cultural appropriation happening with my culture, which is the British culture, over there. Do you know what I mean?
In what way? Because I don't think we're as familiar with it as you are then.
Yeah, how so? Can you give some examples?
Like I just said, like Baker Boy hats, things like cheese. I'm sorry, but things like cheese, like I feel really strongly about cheese. Yes, I'm talking about the food. And I know this is not fashion now that I'm talking about. But for example, like English cheddar cheese, or just cheddar cheese. They don't know where. I don't know. I can't exactly explain what I mean. But the way pasta is made, in the
Oh,
Eastern world.
Oh
The way
gosh,
I have
China,
yes.
issues with
I
the
know
way
what you
pasta is made in the
exactly,
Yeah, that
Eastern
one
world.
actually, the pasta
exactly. Is that not cultural appropriation on some level?
it is. But I feel like there's a
It
difference.
most definitely
Sorry, go
is,
on.
but
Exactly.
they're not calling it not pasta, right? They're adapting it to their taste, but they're not erasing where it's come from in the sense that they're not saying that this is our creation.
But they are saying we make it better than where it comes from.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
I believe that
Exactly.
that's wrong,
Yeah.
but
Or we
I
make burgers better, we make pizzas better, we make all the food better. I mean, I understand that I mean, we're obviously at home not making authentic Italian pasta, but we're not saying we make it better than it is in Italy. I mean, the best pasta I've eaten in my life was in Italy,
Yeah.
yeah,
right?
but
So,
we've been exposed to that, and I think it
yeah.
comes from a place of ignorance, but also a sense of false pride, which I don't quite agree with. I don't resonate with that kind of
But that's why I'm saying
yeah.
that's why my argument here is that there's problems on both sides,
Yeah.
but it's only one side that gets the flack for it, which I think should change because if one side's doing it, the other side's doing it as well.
Can I just make a quick point though?
Mm,
I do agree to an extent. However, when the same food is migrates across, the world, and it gets sometimes it gets called something completely different to what it is. So haldi doodh
mhm,
becomes golden latte,
mhm,
and you've got like yoga, and a lot of people participate in yoga without understanding its roots or the fact that it's rooted in Hinduism. You can call it whatever the heck you want, but it's rooted in Hinduism, and it's
But I think most people know that about yoga because they do generally say namaste. They do generally say,
I would counter that because I've been to a vast number of yoga places in the UK. There's also this entire thing about Christian yoga where you don't do the namaste and you don't do the om
mhm,
chanting. Then you've got other types of yoga that people have made more dynamic and like, fitness yoga and things like that, where they don't again say the namaste. You
mhm,
have to go to a very specific yoga center where they do talk about the roots. But even then they just think you're saying hello. They don't understand that it's rooted in religion.
mhm,
They disassociate with that. You have to go
mhm.
to the specific places to get that experience. And I think that a lot of people, they just think of it as a fitness class.
Yeah.
They
I don't
don't.
know. I think I disagree with that a little bit. I think majority of because I mean I have gone into yoga quite a lot, like in the
Hmm.
past 5 years, I'd say.
Hmm.
And at least, I don't know about actual fitness centers or whatever, because I discovered yoga during, not discovered, but I got into yoga during COVID. But I'd probably say the majority of people who are teaching on YouTube with a massive viewership are very vocal about it being something they've learned in India, or they do chant Om, they do say that it's an Indian thing, or they will say namaste. I mean, just saying the word namaste, you know it's a different culture. You don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to say, okay, namaste, this I have learnt this in India in each lesson. Now, when it comes to other people hijacking it, that's problematic.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Which it has happened.
I'm sure it has, but that's the
Hmm.
minority. I don't think that's the majority of yoga places
I
because
think that's the majority of yoga centers, unfortunately. I mean, you're seeing things like online by
Mhm,
teachers and
mhm,
whatnot. I've seen a lot of what I would call bootleg terrible teachers. I mean,
mhm,
you might remember we went to a yoga class once at the gym
mhm, mhm,
where there was a quite large lady.
mhm,
It's the only way I can remind you of who this person was, unfortunately, by saying it in this way.
mhm,
But she didn't say any of those things. She didn't acknowledge where anything came from, and it was just breathing. For her, it was, well, let's do some stretches.
mhm,
And it's yoga. It's a yoga class. It's called yoga, but she's calling it
mhm,
let's do stretches. Like when people talk about the poses, they don't quite know what the poses mean. Let's do sun
mhm,
salutation. What does sun salutation actually
mhm,
mean? So there's no actual proper meaning behind it when they teach you it like that.
mhm, mhm.
Online might be a different thing, but I've attended a lot of classes. Even when I did my pregnancy yoga,
Mhm.
it wasn't like you don't walk into a room and say namaste. It's these are
Well,
stretches that'll help you through pregnancy.
I think I agree with Shruti a little bit more here from what she's just said because when we started together Shukti over lockdown and stuff, we
mhm,
were also mentioning that they're not explaining what is beneficial from what it is that we're doing. And it's because they don't have the knowledge of what they're doing. And so we were drawn more to the people that were knowledgeable. And I think that's who
mhm,
we end up sticking with. But that's not to say that there
mhm,
isn't also a lot of people on YouTube. They're also claiming to know what they're doing and teaching a
mhm,
lot of people in the world through YouTube.
mhm,
And
mhm.
they don't actually know what they're doing.
But do you not think that is true for almost everything in the world? For example, we know as
Mm.
dancers,
Mm.
we know
Yeah,
that
yeah.
there are so many. fake dance teachers out there
Yeah.
in like close proximity to us, and it's cringe inducing.
Yeah.
And it's just people who are trying to make some quick money. You know what I mean? So I mean, I don't know how much.
Again, it's you have to really pick out the qualified people to learn from. And unfortunately, when people are ignorant, they don't know who to seek out. The same goes for yoga. But the problem is that in a large pool, those are very, very few. Like, it's really hard to find a decent dance teacher. It's really, really hard to find a proper yoga instructor. In the whole time that I've done yoga in my adult life, I've only found one who's been a very knowledgeable yoga teacher, and I felt she could teach me something,
Right.
you know, about kind of like the benefits of yoga or where or its roots, and she was more knowledgeable than I was. So I actually gave her that kind of respect as well. But everybody else I've come across, unfortunately, it's been majority people who've like hijacked it and made it their own exercise class
Right.
and dumbed it down quite significantly as well.
Okay.
I do think we've digressed a little bit now, though, from fashion.
From fashion, yeah, we have. However, yoga was massively in fashion at one point, so we haven't really.
Okay.
Because
Fair enough.
so it's kind of fashion as
That's
well. It's just not clothing fashion, it's other fashion.
Yeah.
Shucks, you and I were talking about the entire impact of ANTM and the
Yes.
kind of fashion trends there. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, we can talk about ANTM. So, I mean, ANTM generally, now for those who don't know what that is, go have a look because we don't want this to be taken down by people. But anyway,
Do you want to be on top?
there we go. Shreeya gave you a little jingle,
A little snippet.
a little clue of what that was about, what we're talking about. But basically, it was a modeling show which recently has received a lot of backlash. I mean, it's not relevant anymore. It used to be around about 20 years ago or something, but then, or it started at that time. And
It
then,
started then, but it's only just recently stopped airing. I think
Yeah.
the viewership figures fell off a cliff
Yeah.
more recently.
And then again during COVID, it was completely ripped apart because obviously everyone went back to reruns and watched it all. Now, now I'm going to say something that a lot of other podcasters will not agree with because generally everybody just wants to rip apart ANTM. I think in hindsight, a lot of things are problematic if we watch it from today's lens. Okay. So we can rip apart ANTM from where we are today. But at the time, 20 years ago, it was relevant to what the fashion industry was back then. But again, if we go back to rip it apart, let's just rip it apart because that's what everyone wants to hear. Okay. So there was a photo shoot. So basically, there'd be like a group of girls who were trying to be the next top model. So basically, I've just revealed the entire show.
Anyway.
There's one word left. Next top model. Next top model. Okay.
Fill in the blank.
And they were basically told that they have to get into hair and makeup, which would represent a different ethnicity to what they belong to. For example, there'd be a Caucasian girl who is wearing Indian clothes. There'd be, I don't know, some other Western culture girl, for example, I don't know, European girl, I can't remember exactly what, but then would be in African style hair makeup. And there would be the opposite as well. So there'd be, African American girl who's completely covered in makeup that is a different shade to her color, and she's having to play, I don't know, a Scandinavian girl. And that was quite that was awkward to watch at the time.
It was awkward then, yeah, because I remember thinking, "Oh, is this allowed?"
This is the only one that I at the time thought was off.
Yeah.
Like now it all seems, now since episode 1 to episode 5,000 or whatever it was, all seem wrong. But at the time this one did seem wrong. It was like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
What are they doing? And that was quite obvious cultural appropriation. I remember one of them was wearing a sari and a bindi, and she was wearing the Native American headdress all together, all at the same time.
Wow.
It was a lot.
I was literally thinking, "Oh my god, this is so bad. Is anyone going to say anything?"
Yeah.
I was just waiting for someone to say something. I'm like, "No one's saying anything. Everyone's okay with this."
Yeah, that was off. That was really off. There were just some really weird comments that were made to people as well. Like there was another girl in one of the earlier seasons who was told, okay, this is not necessarily cultural appropriation, but it's just problematic. She was told, "Oh, you're a black girl, your skin should be like butter. Why is it bumpy? Like, why do you have spots?" And I'm sorry, but these girls are, do you remember that?
remember
I'm
that.
sorry, but
Yeah.
these
Was it
girls
Yaya?
No,
Was
it wasn't
Yaya's
Yaya. It was
skin?
another girl. I don't remember her name. I think she was in season 1.
She started moisturising like crazy after that or something, didn't she? And then she was
Yeah,
getting a
yeah,
lot of
she
hate
did.
for like greasing up the doorknobs around where they were staying and all the rest of it. And she was like, I can't win. Like, what on earth?
And then there was Yaya DaCosta as well, and she was kind of picked upon for wearing clothes that were too African centric, which is the culture that she belonged to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a few other things that were off, like Danielle's gap, if you remember
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that. I don't know. She was, I don't want to say ridiculed. It wasn't really ridiculed, but she was told that she needed to do something about it, basically.
So, I mean, she was ridiculed for it. She was, because
Yeah.
she was literally told by the host of the show that you cannot land a fashion campaign with a gap between your teeth, right? So she was made to feel, if not ridiculed, she was made to feel small about
Small,
this.
yeah, that's what I was trying to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, again, now this is what I mean by at the time, it didn't seem like that much of a big deal, but it was like, yeah, of course, because at that time in the early 2000s, just coming off the 90s supermodel craze that there was, women were expected to look immaculate in the modeling world. Like, you wouldn't see a fashion campaign without the most perfect looking woman on there, right? So it makes sense for the time that, okay, you can't land a fashion campaign with this gap in your tooth. But now, obviously, it's aged like milk.
Yeah.
It's horrible. It's horrible to watch that now that we are A, adults watching it,
Yeah.
and B, we're in a more evolved world. I mean, at the time, we were kids basically watching this show.
Or very young
And
adults,
yeah,
impressionable adults, in fact, I'd say as well, impressionable young people, because I think,
yeah,
yeah, it was because, again, the host of the show is kind of like someone that a lot of people looked up to as well. And just
yeah,
ironically, Danielle was asked to close the gap in her tooth. There was another model, I've forgotten her name, but she was actually asked to increase the gap in her tooth because it subsequently became fashionable to have a gap tooth.
What on earth? What on earth?
Yeah,
yeah,
so they actually like drilled into her mouth and increased the gap. Like physically, it was a quarter of an inch
Wow.
yeah,
on each side. So it was, and you know what? As much as I was like, not happy about Danielle's gap being closed, especially because she was so passionate about not having it done. This felt like it was almost, I don't even know what the word for it is, but it was kind of like, permanently changing someone's appearance for a show.
yeah,
It's a bit shocking the levels they went to for that.
yeah,
There were a few other shows that followed in that kind of vein because, like, you had that. What was it? 10 Years Younger. Do you remember that show
Yeah.
yeah,
where they had like permanent plastic surgery and treatments to make themselves look 10 years younger? So
yeah,
it was quite a problematic time. But again, it's something that these things would never get greenlit today.
yeah. No, they wouldn't. But I mean, having said that though about ANTM, what they did do some things that were ahead of their time. For example, since some of the early, I know I'm the minority here that I'm still sticking up for it because I get that in hindsight things appear different. It's distorted. We are seeing a distorted version of it. But at the time, they did bring on models that were what they called plus size. Now we are looking at it and we're seeing those girls the UK size 10, which is quite small, right? But then again, at the time, the girls that were on runways doing big fashion campaigns were really thin and they were made to be that, not made to be, they had to be that thin. They had to maintain that figure to be booked for those campaigns at that time. So ANTM was ahead of its time by bringing on girls that were a UK size 10 or even UK size 8 for that matter.
They had a short cycle as well for girls who were under 5'7". Then I think they had a cycle right at the end when they were really losing viewers, where they had literally anyone can apply. They had a 40-year-old on there.
They were trying to push the boundaries. They just didn't do it in the right way all the time. So maybe this cultural appropriation one was trying to push a boundary, but they just hit the wrong buttons. I'm just talking in defense of them because I get that. I mean, I hate to think what we would think of ourselves from 10 years ago to what we are now. We
Yeah,
might
I
think,
think
what on
we
earth?
all evolve, and you got to cut them a bit of
Yeah,
slack. There was quite a lot of things that were tone deaf. And some of the treatment of the girls does seem like bullying now, but at the
That
time,
now that we hear the behind the scenes, yeah, for sure. There was one more thing actually they did really well, was that they picked that there was a girl with quite severe vitiligo,
Oh yeah.
and Winnie Harlow, now she's Winnie
yeah,
Harlow, her name on the show was something else.
Chantel.
Chantel, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was quite a big deal because now she's the face of these huge
Yeah.
campaigns. But at the time, there were no girls or guys or anything who were being seen on billboards with vitiligo, with any kind of, skin ailments for that matter. But now I do understand as well that you see girls with freckles, you see girls with quirky features because that's what's in it right now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, though, like you're probably aware of like recent campaigns where there've been problems raised again. So again, we're thinking that we've perhaps moved away from the focus on ultra skinny models, but M&S, which is a brand which I wouldn't associate with that kind of look, they had an ad that was recently banned for their model looking unhealthily thin. And, M&S is something that we would associate with older ladies and, not as fashion forward as some of the other trendier brands.
Yeah.
And if they are promoting models like that, then, it's not really a good sign. And I think the catwalk has now pivoted again to having ultra skinny models. Whereas there was a time where the plus size models were very, appreciated and they got the spotlight.
Yeah.
But I think that mirrors society as well, because there was this entire body positivity movement, which has completely regressed now. A lot of people who were talking about body positivity a little while ago are all on Ozempic now.
Yeah.
And or the other one, is it Monjaro?
Manjaro.
And they see it again, like we mentioned in one of our previous episodes, that they see it as a defect that they want to cure, and they're taking shortcuts, and it has dire consequences. But I think we're going backwards with all the strides that we made. Kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
It is. But now, on a happier note, should we talk about examples of the appreciation of cultures across the board?
Yeah, so a recent example of cultural appreciation was probably the Kardashians being in India for a very, very famous wedding. And they wore garments that were picked out by the Ambanis and made by a local designer called Manish Malhotra. And he was actually credited in a lot of news that came out at the time. They were saying that this is the designer and he's designed their clothes and it's pre-approved kind of styles.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of brought a lot of limelight on Indian fashion.
Yeah.
And, like how big weddings are in general. I think a lot of people for the first time realised how grand Indian weddings actually are.
Yeah. They're not usually that grand.
Yeah.
That was a different level of grand. That was
a different level of grand.
Whoa.
But that was something else altogether. But I think it was, even so, I don't think anyone had any concept of what an Indian wedding would look like, because there aren't that many examples in popular culture. So I think it was, for a lot of people, it was probably the first time, especially Gen Z. I don't think there's many examples for them at all. I think maybe the older generations might have been exposed
The only
to it.
example I can think of is Murder Mystery 2, where we had Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston working it at, if anyone has seen Four Lions, Brother Fessel's wedding.
Never Have I Ever as well.
That's true. Yeah, that show did have it as well. That's true.
Yeah, they had a wedding on there as well, which is probably the most recent.
They showed quite a bit on that show, actually, to do with culture and festivities.
Yeah, I guess that's probably the best reference for Gen Zs.
And it was celebrated as well. It wasn't something that the main character was ashamed of. It was something that she understood.
She went on a journey, though.
She went on a journey, but I don't think that's to do with her culture. I think that's just to do with her growing up and being a teen. I think her culture which is different from how it's been shown previously in pop culture. It wasn't something that she was ashamed of. It was something that she also celebrated. And was spoken out about and was eager to show her friends and all of that, which sometimes, like in popular culture, they kind of shy away from it.
Yeah, I think it was showcased quite nicely, actually.
Sorry, there is another wedding that out there, which is just for the millennials, though I don't know if the Gen Zs have kind of seen it, but Bend It Like Beckham.
Yay, the real goodies on
Bend
there.
It Like Beckham did it really well. I mean, it was the British Indian wedding of the time, the way they used to be. It was quite accurate for that
And now
time.
we're getting a sequel.
Hopefully. They're saying in 2 years, though. Like, it's supposed to be another 2 years or something. So I hope it's good.
Something else from around that time as well, but I don't necessarily remember it. I know I watched it, but I don't really remember it. Do you guys remember Bride and Prejudice? What was that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't actually remember it. So was that a good
It did have
representation?
a wedding sequence towards the beginning,
Mm.
and then they had a wedding montage at the end, I think, when they go on the elephant
I went on an
and ride
elephant.
away.
I saw something recent of like the
Right.
dance sequence that they did in it.
Yeah,
yeah.
I saw something
that Bully Bully song, it was meant to be at somebody's wedding. I can't remember who was supposed to be getting married, but that's where they meet for the first time, the main
Yeah.
protagonist.
Yeah.
And then there was also the Diwali episode on And Just Like That.
You should have given a trigger warning before naming that show in front of me. I swear to God,
Oh.
they have broken my heart so hard. I have loved that show. Both Did and I both have loved that show
Yeah.
growing up. Like, it was the girl guide for all of us. Like, we didn't go to brownies. It was all about this show. And then, and just like that has come and just broken our hearts. Like, what on earth is happening? We should do one episode just ranting about and just
Yeah,
like
can we
that.
please rant about it? Because honestly, I've got so much to say. Maybe it's something that I haven't been through in life yet, because I'm not in my 50s yet. Maybe I will lose my marbles like the ladies have in that show. I have no idea. But yeah, I want to rant about it as well.
I've not seen it.
There's not one of them that I'm okay with. Like, not one of them
I know.
has, what did she do to Steve?
I'm so upset about Steve.
Sorry, not she. What have they, the creators of the show, why have they done Steve so dirty? Steve was lovely.
I know. It's really sad. It's really sad. I can't. Yeah, that's for a different time.
I feel like I need to do some homework here. I don't know.
There should have been a trigger warning, I told you. Trigger
Sorry.
warning before mentioning that show.
Let's move on to Met Gala. Met Gala has more diverse invitees now. So again, Eastern fashion is being very nicely showcased there with due credit as well. So like there was a Sabyasachi sari on there, for example, that Alia Bhatt wore. Sabyasachi himself made an appearance with Shah Rukh Khan, I think.
Shah Rukh Khan,
Yeah.
Although I do have to say, since we're talking fashion faux pas, let's actually talk about this fashion faux pas. Was Shah Rukh's outfit just a little blah? Or was it just me?
Especially because Diljit was he was at the same Met Gala. And
Diljit looked amazing. However, I don't really think he followed the brief, but he looked amazing. Like, he stole the show. There wasn't one person there better dressed than him. Although, yeah, he did not follow the brief.
No, he didn't. But
yeah,
irrespective, it's good to see some examples of South Asian culture.
Yeah.
In a nice way. In an appreciative
in a nice way, again, like in appreciation sense. In terms of cultural appropriation, can you two think of any positives that might come out of that?
Of cultural appropriation?
If people know where things are coming from and they're able to appreciate it and able to acknowledge where, I mean, I know it's a long shot because no one's really got time on their hands to be doing that.
But then it's not appropriation.
It's not appropriation then.
That's the thing. So if they're just picking it out of the stores and being like, oh, I like this, and are wearing it and appreciating it and all of that, then yeah, fair dues. But it's where there's no credit given from the people higher up, and they're essentially...
But it normalises the look, doesn't it? It normalises that look, if that makes sense. So I guess that could be an argument for it. Or the fact that they'll probably still be sourcing raw materials from the country of origin, or taking inspirations, or using the artisans, or whoever the creators are, to produce the products. So it could benefit in some ways the local economy. I mean, this is clutching at straws.
Yeah, I do wonder if they do actually use the local artisans. Maybe now they do, like, for example, those Golabri chappals that they'd used, that Prada, wasn't it? They use it. They look quite authentic. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were sourced from India. I wouldn't be surprised.
But is it a way to save money, or is it to actually be authentic?
But you could argue that even if it's a way to save money, it's investing in the local culture in some way.
Unintentionally.
Because the money's going back to the people who produce the product.
But then on the other side of this, right, we have seen when some things have been in stores, like the bindis, were definitely not made in India. They were not, they just weren't right. They just didn't look right. You can't quite put your finger on what it is. They just don't look right. An Indian person would not wear this, or a South Asian person would not wear this.
It was to do with like the size and the feel of them.
And the lack of detailing as well. It would just be like a silver blob, as opposed to having any texture, any kind of you know, and the stickiness was different. Like, it wasn't the right kind of sticky.
It was like someone had just been like they just found glitter in a glue gun and
Yeah.
molded something. They weren't very good quality ones.
Yeah.
But I guess that fits into the argument against, which would be the erasure of the origins of whatever it is that you're appropriating. I think that's the main downfall of it.
Yeah.
Obviously the lack of acknowledgement and profiteering from other cultures, especially if you say like with the bindi example, if you're making it locally, then you're profiteering from other people's culture without A, giving them credit, B, giving them the money for it.
I do think the other thing that I'd mentioned before that is problematic, it's not necessarily cultural appropriation, but for example, when they make somebody look like on the catwalk, you know, runway shows and whatever, when they make, for example, a black woman have a different texture hair to what she would naturally have. I find that quite problematic because I think everybody's natural state should be celebrated in some
Yeah,
way.
it
So
should be
I
celebrated.
remember,
I agree.
like in the 90s, Naomi Campbell and Tyra Banks, and they were the only two black models. There was no South Asian models, mainstream South Asian models at all. There might have been some in like the local circuits, but in the mainstream national ad campaigns, there weren't any. So the only two ladies that had a bit of a, you know, bit of colour to them were Naomi Campbell and Tyra Banks, and they used to not wear their natural hair. I think they still don't. As far as I know, they still don't.
I think Tyra Banks did wear her natural hair in one episode of ANTM.
I'm not even sure that was natural. I think
She actually mentioned it and she said it on her talk show as well, that she was wearing her hair natural to prove a point. But again, she did say that she's hypocritical because she does wear a weave most of the time.
Yeah.
It was something that she brought up herself, but it's sad that people aren't celebrated in their natural way. And now we've gone a step further when there's surgical enhancements, and that's, you know, so normalized now to the extent that it's very hard to see someone who's unaltered become a huge celebrity, for example.
actually, do you know what? I read. So I don't know if this has been altered or whatever, but I read an article that a director called Mohit Suri he'd given an interview. Now again, I don't know if someone's twisted his words or whatever, but for this movie that he's just released called Sayara, that's made big money, he said that he was looking for an actress who didn't have that much exposure because they wanted to have mostly new, like launch two new kids, right? But he said he was looking for a girl who hadn't had any cosmetic surgeries done or
Yeah.
any fillers or any Botox or whatever, and he found it really difficult.
Wow.
And then
Yeah.
finally, the girl that he settled for, he not settled for. I mean, I'm sure I've not seen the film, but I'm sure everyone's saying she did a really good job. So I'm sure he didn't settle for her, but it took him ages to find her, which is quite,
Yeah,
you
I saw
know,
that interview, so his words haven't been twisted. It's literally what you've just said.
right.
Yeah, he was basically saying that he wanted someone with a very natural look, and he said that like literally everyone started to look a bit the same as well.
Yeah, it's very concerning, isn't it? Because we're in this environment now in the world where like everywhere is so multicultural, and yet somehow everyone's beginning to look the same because of these surgical enhancements that everyone's doing. And it's so bizarre.
And they're not looking the same because we are the same. Do you know what I mean? Because everyone said, you know, like with genetic mixing, that everyone's going to end up being a shade of beige. Like they say it's a bit of a joke, but it is. You know, it's not highly unlikely that that's going to happen. But it's not because of that. It's because people are literally artificially enhancing themselves to look a certain way.
Yeah.
And it goes across cultures, across ethnicities. I mean, I just heard about this lady who was getting lip injections done and she left her baby in the car and the baby unfortunately passed away.
Gosh.
Obviously a very sad story, but it's that normalised.
I mean, see, I'll be honest, right? If I start seeing wrinkles on my face and I don't feel comfortable with them, I might do something to fix it. Might.
Yeah.
I might not. I probably won't because I'd be really scared of it and, you know, I chicken out of everything. So it might get to a point where I've like pumped myself up and I'm at the dermatologist's place and then I'll just be like, you know, slowly retreat out of the office.
Yeah, let's think about it realistically. You don't do needles. You're not doing anything. You're actually not doing
Anything that's, I'll probably just chicken out by the end of it.
Yeah.
But I'm saying is I don't want to judge people for having insecurities and then fixing them.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. People trivialise getting these procedures done and they just say, oh, it's nothing, without realising that a lot of them are very intrusive medical procedures that can have consequences.
Yeah.
I think that's not what people don't talk about, basically.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say trivialize. I'd say normalize to a point where it's something that is necessary to have to fit in with certain social circles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, with that's what's,
Or to age gracefully, as they put it.
yeah, the younger girls who maybe to fit in with their friends want to get a certain treatment done, or they want to have their nails done a certain way, they want to have their hair done a certain way. And I just feel like that, and I'm saying the younger girls, I'm talking like the pressures start from teenage, right?
Yeah.
And I just feel like childhood gets lost there a little bit
It's
as
the
well.
accessibility. I think it's the accessibility of these things earlier and earlier as well.
Yeah.
So it
It's,
is almost seen
yeah,
as getting your nails done. It's like, oh, I'll get my nails done.
yeah.
Let me just get some lip filler put in.
But yeah, exactly. But when we were younger, even getting your nails done was a luxury,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? Or it was something that you do when you're a grown up.
Yeah.
It's not something you do when as a teenager, right?
Yeah.
It's almost become even more normal than that. And it's more like, I need a new pair of trainers for PE. Can I get
Yeah.
some Nikes this time? Can I get Adidas? Can I get, as opposed to like some other non-branded pair, can I get that?
Yeah.
It's now, oh, can I just get some like fillers on my lips, and can I get some lash extensions or lash lift or whatever?
It's like the sunbeds of the 90s, because do you remember growing up, like how popular sunbeds were? It was only like when people started getting, people still use sunbeds, but it's when people started getting things like skin cancer from them that I think it started, people started using fake tan a little more and, cutting back on sunbeds. And it like aged people a lot as well. And people at the time, they didn't realize it, but they were very, very young. I remember going to school with some girls who used to use sunbeds.
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it? Like how popular that used to be. I don't think it's that popular anymore.
Yeah. I just want to also talk about, now, again, I'm going back to India here, but again, does it count as cultural appropriation cross state? So, for example, if a designer has used a certain type of embroidery, for example, there's in Punjab, there's the famous embroidery from there called pulkari, and they've used it in a mainstream campaign that they're doing for some new fashion line that's come out, but they've not said this is pulkari. Does that count?
I think it depends. I mean, what's the interstate knowledge like? So would people in Mumbai, for example, know that Pulgari comes from Punjab? Because we would.
If you say the word pulkari, yes, but seeing it on an outfit, you probably wouldn't. And the only reason why I know what pulkari is because I did A-level textiles as well. So I studied it.
I know what it is, but I think, again, that comes from, being Punjabi and seeing people wear it and see people talk about it.
But would you know that this particular embroidery, I mean, forget even, I'm not even going to go to like some Bangladeshi embroidery or Pakistani or Nepalese embroidery. I'm saying, even in the country, if you were given an outfit that had some embroidery on it, would you be able to identify where it comes from unless the designer has put on the label what kind of embroidery it is?
No.
I'd probably recognise, say, like if it's mirror work, I'd say this is either Gujarat or it's Rajasthan. If it's like something like Pulgari or like a really heavy chunni, I would say that comes from the north as well. But would I be able to identify southern fashion in the same way? Possibly not, unless it was a Ganjivaram sari or something that I'd let
I'm
specific
talking,
silk sari.
I'm talking specific. I'm not talking about the weave. I'm talking about embroidery, because that's what I'm saying. That cultural appropriation happens on such minuscule levels everywhere. So I think what my issue is here, honestly, is that we're calling out Prada because it's a big, company, and it's really easy for it to go viral. Okay, but why are we not calling out everyone who's doing it, and why are we not giving due credit to everybody who needs it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the beauty of South Asia generally is that it's so diverse. Or, for example, African.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's differences between East Africa, West Africa, South Africa, Northern
Yeah.
Africa, Central Africa. There'd be differences, but we don't get to know what is coming from where, because our family came via Africa to the UK. I mean, they lived in Africa before migrating to the UK, but we don't know that the ornaments that we have that we've got from Africa, are they actually from East Africa, or did they get them on a holiday from some other part. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Or if they've been selling them in East Africa, but they belong to a different area.
Yeah, we
Yeah. No,
we should be able to identify cultural appropriation on every level and not just call out certain people because it's easy to, you know, malign them. You know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even in the UK, being a tiny little island, there are differences in culture between North and South, and then obviously Scotland, Wales, Ireland, like the cultures are different, and they must be different things. Like obviously we know tartan is Scotland, we know the white rose is Yorkshire or Leeds at least. I don't see. I'm not even sure.
It's Yorkshire and the red rose is Lancashire.
Yeah, but then there must be things that are specific, apart from Yorkshire puddings. There must be other things specific to Yorkshire. I'm not even sure what they are. But
Limestone?
I think this is limestone. That's not fashionable
No, as in
ever.
like just something, just something that's native to Yorkshire. I was just thinking out loud, but
Yeah.
Limestone.
So it is. I
no.
mean, that's what I'm trying to say. But when it comes to problematic things in fashion, okay, there is one thing that I want to talk about, which is super yuck, and that is the fact that it's like borderline paedophilia that is normalized in the fashion industry. Okay, so there was now everybody knows about it, so I'm sure we're not going to be taken down for me naming this brand, but the Balenciaga campaign that happened not that long ago, they had kids holding toys or like bears and stuff. I can't remember exactly what it was, but bears with really inappropriate outfits on.
Yeah.
But they had kids doing that, so that's kind of ooh, you know,
Yeah.
it's kind of gross, isn't it?
Brooke Shields.
As well.
So when she was younger, in fact, just after she'd done a film, I think it was called Pretty Baby or something, but she was very very young in that film, possibly about 13. She did a jeans campaign for a popular denim brand. Can't remember the name exactly now. And basically saying, "Oh, I'm not a baby anymore." And you know, there was some suggestive kind of imagery in it, like she was sucking her thumb and all that kind of stuff. So again,
Oh no.
it was very very uncomfortable. But things like that, the fact that it's very normal to have very very young models and enter the fashion industry as well, because if you're making these clothes for women, because teenagers can't afford these clothes in all reality, right? If you're making these clothes for women but you're putting them on teenage bodies, that in itself creates a very very unhealthy image.
I studied this a little bit when I did media studies, and we were looking at, you know, magazines and fashion and all of that. And we were talking about this whole, I think we looked at it under the male gaze. We were looking specifically at models that looked very young. Whether they were, I don't know. But even if they were older, they were using ones that looked very young. And I mean, like, they looked about 12, 13. And they were being portrayed or modelling in a way that made them look like they were kids. So they would appeal to that kind of male gaze, and, you know, not saying that every man wants a woman that's younger, but, you know, that's becoming more and more vocalized in recent years, that whole thing. But yeah, they made it look like that. So I remember one image that we were looking at was this very petite, very young looking, like honestly, she looked about 12, and she was wearing a dress that was advertised towards women. Like, it was a short dress, kind of like a long camisole type of thing. I don't know what they're called. But she was sat on like a kitchen countertop, like on a washing machine or something. But it was like how you'd prop a kid on the counter while you're working around the kitchen. And she was kind of like dangling herself, like she's a ragdoll kid. And it was just, it was really weird. It was really weird.
Oh
This has been
no.
going on for ages. It's not even like it's a recent thing.
It's so strange that it's catered to the male gaze, but it's meant to appeal to women. Like, the fashion itself is
Yeah.
meant to appeal to women. It doesn't make sense, but doesn't that show you the kinds of people that are behind the industry itself? That's what is like very worrying about the entire thing, I think. Those kind of people don't just exist in the fashion world.
It brings us back to what we've talked about in previous episodes about, you know, people being abused behind the scenes and that kind of stuff, and it makes you think that, are they just being blatant about it, and they're putting it out there, and we're just completely missing it, and they're just getting away with it.
But I don't think we are missing it. I think people are.
In recent years, they are.
people are tuning into the fact that there's something off. You know, there's something massively off, and that's why that Balenciaga campaign was taken down, and that's why lots of people. I mean, even I know I keep second time mentioning Honey Singh on Need a Natter, but like Honey Singh spoke about he put up a Instagram, was it a live or something? But I remember him saying like, stop wearing Balenciaga, it's not cool, because a lot of Punjabi rappers have been wearing Balenciaga a lot, and they've kind of made it cool within, you know, the Indian subcontinent a little bit when it comes to like fashion. But Honey Singh specifically has like said, don't wear it, it's not cool, right? Or something like that along the lines of, you know, ad-libbing here a little bit. But he said something like that, and it was almost as if he's kind of calling them out, because it was very soon after that campaign was taken down that he said this. So it does seem that people do know, but there always seems to be barriers that are put in place so that you can't do anything about it, right? Like, again, the Diddy case, blatant, obvious in front of your face, but they hold too much power, right?
Yeah, it's the power they hold at the end of the day, and it's the fact that if people go up against them, they're just branded as liars or as co-conspirators. They'll find a way to twist it in their favor because they have the money and they have the power, and unfortunately that's what speaks. But you know, like in terms of problematic fashion trends, I mean, these aren't the only ones. There's a few that we've skipped over. We've not really mentioned the Gucci blackface jumpers that they did, and there's been a couple of others. There's been like, you know, portraits of Hindu gods on swimwear that was done a few years ago. Again, totally not cool. I wouldn't even call that cultural appropriation. I'd call that blatant ignorance and disrespect, quite frankly.
Disrespectful,
Yeah, and then the shoes as well. I think you mentioned that, Shucks, that, you know, they put, you know, pictures of deities on shoes as well. And then there was this entire thing with Comme des Garçons. They did a modelling campaign, I think it was in 2020, where they had Caucasian women with cornrow wigs, so appropriating culture in that way. So there's been quite a few like that. It doesn't seem as though the fashion world's actually learning their lesson as to what can be deemed problematic.
There is one more thing that's majorly problematic. This is something that people overlook, actually, is that male models are, you know, accessories. They are not given any kind of importance. I mean, in India, okay, the male models in the 90s and early 2000s really flourished. They did really well, okay? They became, you know, household names, those guys did. However, in the Western world, I mean, anyway, in India, that's kind of died down completely now. I mean, I don't know any current working models' names. But in the Western world, I can't actually think of more than just a couple male models
There was
whose
literally
names
just
I
a
know.
couple. Yeah, there was literally
Literally just a couple, right?
Yeah.
The rest of them, they don't get the same kind of airtime. Now, I'm sorry, but as far as I know, men wear clothes as much as women wear clothes.
Yeah.
So why are they not given the same respect? Because at the same time, if there was the way we've spoken about toxic masculinity, this is a problem here as well, that in the world of fashion, there's no representation, or there's not equal representation for male models or male fashion.
I think there's representation, but not celebration of the male model, because they do have male models all the time. It's just that they're not prominent, they're not household names, they're not even, there's no pay parity at all either, because the women models significantly out earn the male models, and they aren't equals in that industry at all. So it's one of the rare industries where the opposite is true of what we spoke about in the toxic masculinity episode.
But I think it's as toxic, if not more toxic, in that world, because the fashion world anyway is quite toxic. Then on top of that, when you're treated like a side piece, you know what I mean? It's, ooh, I can't even imagine what that must be like. So it's quite bad, that whole thing. So I do think that there should be.
Also, the whole like body positivity thing, I think, is being accepted for women, but I don't see that being represented in men and male models. I don't feel like they're showing plus size men, or there's variations in what they're.
There's no variations. You can't even be muscular. You have to be lean.
Yeah.
You can't be slightly bigger. You have to be like the same brief that there's for girls generally, that you have to be like straight top to bottom. It's the same for men.
It is, but at least they had some variation, and there was a little bit of they still try to show
Yeah.
appreciation for
Yeah.
differences in female bodies, but they're not doing that with men. I've not seen that at all with male models.
Mhm. Not at all. Yeah, no, not at all. I feel like the bro code only extends to interactions with each other. But if you know when guys hang out together, like, oh yeah, he's a good lad. That guy's a good lad. He supports the same football team as me. Nice guy, whatever. They have that bro code about them. But when it comes to speaking out about issues that actually matter, I feel like men really do let their own team down, because there's lots of things. Yeah, there's lots of things, men's mental health, so on and so forth, that there isn't a lot of vocalization happening on that. But on that note, we could again go on for ages on problematic things that we've seen in the fashion industry, or in popular culture, or in limestone, apparently. But
In the limestone.
In Yorkshire
but
pudding
anyway,
as well.
Yorkshire puddings as well, and cheese and pasta and whatever. We can go on and on and on, but let's wrap it up here,
Yeah.
and we will meet you guys for the next one, which will be a good one as well. So stay tuned and do the usuals. Like, comment, subscribe.
#NatterBack, people. Follow us on our socials. Talk to us. That's actually where you can natter back.
Yeah, we're on Instagram as well.
We can see that you see us. We can see that. And we can see
you.
that you're not nattering yet. So natter, yeah, we see you. Yeah. We see you. Natter back, please. Natter back.
And we'll do some shout outs if you want us to as well.
Yeah. All right, Tio, then.
Right here.
Pack it up, guys.
Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.
Over and out.